In order to master when to use gerunds or infinitives, you have to learn the 4 categories of verbs in English, because each of these categories has specific rules that determine when you need a gerund or an infinitive. Unfortunately, there are no patterns really to these categories. You simply have to memorize them. The first category is verbs always followed by a gerund. The second category are verbs followed by an infinitive. The third category are verbs that can be followed by a gerund or an infinitive with no change in meaning. And fourth are verbs that can be followed by a gerund or an infinitive with a change in meaning. In this lesson, we're just going to look at the first category, verbs always followed by a gerund. So anytime you use one of these verbs that we're going to look at, you use a gerund after. It's that simple. The first one is avoid. Avoid walking in that area at night because there are wild animals. So anytime you use avoid and then a verb after, the verb that comes after must be in the gerund form. Consider. Consider riding your bike instead of driving in order to reduce your carbon footprint. Recommend. The professor recommended studying our notes to prepare for the test. So even if the first verb recommend is in the past tense, it still must be followed by a gerund. Practice. You should practice speaking every day if you want to improve quickly. So these are the 4, I would say, most common verbs that will always be followed by a gerund, but there are some others too. You have understand, feel like, suggest, admit, anticipate, can't help, deny, involve, mention, resume, and risk. So, like I said at the beginning, you simply should memorize these 15 verbs to start. There are more verbs that are always followed by a gerund. In other words, more verbs in this first category, but they're less common. So just start with these 15 verbs and you will be covered for most cases.